Good afternoon, Tony Rogers. I am your host for the Urbanology Show, which is usually on WHCR 90.3 FM, but based on this new normal that we're going through, we're on another platform thanks to Soul City TV, Matt McCoy and Jasmine Pfeiffer. This is the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce show, which is usually on my urbanology show, WHCR, the last Tuesday in the month. So, what we're going to do today, we're going to bring on first Dr. Flora Luando to give a little update on H2W, the Harlem Holistic Wellness Week. I'm one of the founders, and we have a great team this year because that is also virtual. So there's a lot of great things that have happened, a lot of wonderful things that will take place until Saturday, May 2nd. So Dr. Flora will give you some information about that. And then we'll have Winston Magette and Rosa Rivers to come on to talk a little about some of the activities that has taken place with the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce in a number of different areas as relates to the response to the COVID 19 issue. So at this point, I would like to introduce Dr. Flora Loyando, who is a member of the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce Health uh, Committee in response to COVID 19. She's also a member of the H2W Planning Committee. She has her own business. She's a licensed acupuncturist and herbologist and many other things, Flora Wellness, and a wonderful, wonderful spirit. How are you doing, Dr. Flora?
Hello, I am doing very good, thank you. Good to
So,
see your face, Tony.
well, it's good to see you as smiling as always, and the energy is always there that comes through the phone, I mean, and through the through the screen now. So, give us an update on what has happened so far since we had to do everything virtual in H2W, and maybe some information as to what listeners can look forward to the end and make on next Saturday.
hmm Well, I am so thankful and grateful to be a part of this wonderful committee. On behalf of myself and the entire Magnificent Seven, the H2W committee, I am going to talk a little bit of what went on from the very beginning, April 25th, and going to extend on May 2nd. So the schedule as follow that you can go on to h2w.nyc. You can look at some of the information that was recorded if you missed it. And then there's other things that are going to continue to be live during the week. So Saturday, April 25th, our wonderful Karen Ann Webster, our strategist of the group, began with an interview with the amazing Tori Washington. And that was about fitness, nutrition, and vegan life. And then from 2 to 3 was Love Stream with Dr. Flora. That was very beneficial for people to know about home care, the benefits of essential oils. And then 8 p.m., there was a conversation that day, which ended a beautiful night, April 25th, with the conversations of Tai Chi and Qigong. That was the beginning of World Day Tai Chi and Qigong. Amazing, amazing interview on that. Please check those 3 out. You can find it again at www.h2w.nyc. And then on Sunday, we continued on at 6 p.m. with H2W Crew Talks About Health. That was really interesting too. We talked about many topics that most people don't want to talk about, and we want to be a voice for them as well. So check that out. And then on Monday, April 27, it began with the benefits of acupuncture in helping to boost your immune system and respiratory system. So check that out. You'll see that as well. And on that night and evening, we had our wonderful Bailey, that's a part of the H2W. She's a family therapist, was talking about grief and loss during COVID-19. I definitely really ask for people to check that out as well. Very interesting stuff. We're grieving on many different things and on different levels. So make sure you check that out as well. Conversations with John Badero, very interesting cardiologist, was at 8 p.m. of that day. On Tuesday, which is today, bringing it live here on Urbanology with our wonderful Mr. Tony Rogers. We're going to be talking about the Harlem Chamber and the many more informations, what's going on in the Harlem and outside of New York City community. And then later on tonight, our Tony Rogers will be talking about the CBD moment, the cannabis moment. I think that if you're interested in or had questions about cannabis, marijuana, so forth, please stay tuned for that. I think it's going to be very informational. You could do so much with hemp and cannabis. Interesting stuff. So I really advise you to check that out. Wednesday, April 29th, which is tomorrow. Again, more information on cannabis activists. Call for action. Please, please, please be tuned on that for those of you that are interested in starting your business on cannabis. That's 6 p.m. tomorrow. And then it ends off that night at 9 p.m. with our Therapy for Black Men, hosted by our Mat Man, Mr. McCoy, CEO of Soul City. He will be hosting that Therapy for Black Men with Mr. Valamir. Then Thursday, April 30th, 6 p.m., The Wealth Nation with Dr. Jana Woodhouse. That's going to be really, really interesting. We're going to be finding out about, the holisticness of wealth with health. That's going to be on April 30th at 6 p.m. 8 p.m., and actually, we had a schedule change, so we missed. If you missed today at 2 p.m., the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Dr. Ju Pukum was very powerful, very wise woman. Check it out. We just finished having that today at 2 p.m. I advise everyone to really look on that. It was really good on the interesting stuff, holistic medicine. Very powerful lady. And Friday, May 1st, we have naturopathic doctor Miss Livet. And Saturday, May 2nd, Comedic Healing. What's going to be interesting on that? That's going to be 12 noon on a Saturday, May 2nd, closing it out. 6 p.m., we have Des Seeley about raw food and fasting expert. And then closing it out at the entire week, we're going to be celebrating it and reflecting with the H2W committee. So please check it out. Any information on more stuff like that you want to know about, please check it out at h2w.nyc. And on your evenings and mornings, sunset and sunrise meditation, we have that available on demand. So stay tuned for that as well.
Well, thank you, Dr. Flora Luando. I have taken advantage of your evening meditations and also Karen's early morning medication. I guess
medication with meditation. I like that. Right. I love it.
But thank you for your help and again for being on the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce's Health and Wellness Committee. We appreciate your help and also the ability to allow for the things that take place with that committee and also the leadership committee to be able to translate that for people who or bilingually for the Spanish-speaking audience, because there's a lot of information that they may be missing because they're not able to get information such as what you can transfer to them. So thank you again for giving us that update. And I believe we have Winston Magette and Rosa Rivers on in the studio, and there is Winston Magette. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Tony. How about yourself?
Good. You're taking this thing serious. You got a mask on videos.
Oh yeah.
That's interesting. For the listeners, Winston Magette is the director of programs. And I mean, we call him Mr. Magic because it's hard for me to get his title because he's into everything, whether it's through Harlem Week, whether it's through the Chamber, but he's there making the glue that makes everything stick. So if you want to know what's happening with the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce, Winston Magette is the person. If he doesn't know, well, nobody probably knows because he's on top of it. How are you doing, Winston?
I'm doing well, my friend. I hope the listeners are well and their families are well at this time.
So give us a little update, Winston. I believe Rosa Rivers may be joining us, who is the vice president, the executive vice president of the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce, and also the head of the Harlem Arts Alliance, which is connected. So hopefully we'll be able to get Rosa on. But give us a little update as to what's going on as far as
Well, right now,
and all of the work that's happening. You probably just came out. That's why you still have your mask on, because I know you've been out there, food feeds and all of those types of things.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely right, Tony. One of the campaigns that the Chamber started since this epidemic, is our food feed program.
It was
And
Rosa.
that's at Salem United Methodist Church at 129th Street and Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard. And we're doing that campaign with the New York State Assembly member, Inez Dickens, of course, Salem United Methodist Church, and our partner and food provider is Rethink Food NYC. So since April 7th, where we started with 500 meals per day, we have since gone up to 1,200 meals per day in this short run of the campaign. So, as you can tell, the need for meals is definitely needed amongst many New Yorkers, and that's feeding seniors, homeless, and needy families.
And one
Mind
of
you,
the
Tony, these meals are made fresh by five-star restaurants and chefs every morning and brought uptown to Harlem so we can distribute them to the needy families within our community.
one of the things we'll do is to make. However, the Harlem Community News, I have a couple of articles about that's posted on Harlem Community News for people to look at it for the schedule. But we'll have that schedule also posted on the H2W website. And I'm glad to see my good brother Rosa Rivers, who is the executive vice president of the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce. But I mean, these guys have so many titles. I mean, he's the head of the Harlem Arts Alliance. I mean, if you want to talk about art in any form, not only in Harlem, but throughout the world, you'll hear that name, Rosa Rivers. And I am just honored to be in that orbit with this brother because for more broadcasts to talk about all the stuff he's done. How are you doing, Rosa?
I'm good, Tony. It's always good to be among family members.
That's true.
I'm getting feedback on my end. Are you getting feedback in the studio?
It's probably on your end. I'm not sure why, but there is some feedback. It maybe depends on. Are you using your
Cell phone?
Cell phone?
Yes.
That may be what it is, but I'm not sure. But nevertheless,
so when I'm speaking to you now, are you getting feedback, or can I continue
better now?
talking?
It's better now. It's better.
It's okay?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, good. So let me just start by saying, these are very important times, and I want to preface it important time. And I know that we are challenged as a community, as a nation, and as a global citizen. And what we've been able to do with the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce is to be a kind of unifying force in bringing leaders, uh, arts groups, what you always mention, arts and culture, learning, technology, humanistic obligations like the food feeds, all under one umbrella, under the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce. And all I can tell you is at my age to think that I could find the energy to do what we're doing is a gift from God, because I am truly blessed to be a part of this initiative at this point in my life, and to be a part of this wonderful community called Harlem.
And the beautiful thing about it is that we are people who adapt to things, and this has been really a challenge to adapt. One of the things, Rosa, that is not talked about quite as much, and I know that you've been very focused on it with our borough president, is the the art community. And I know there's been a series of calls that have been made. You representing two entities, the Chamber as well as the Harlem Arts Alliance, with hundreds of upscale, I shouldn't say upscale, but higher tier art institutions like the Apollo Theater and museums, as well as just the artists. How has that gone as it relates to their?
Well, Tony, I'll frame it a little differently. My conversation with Gail was that the big guys are taken care of. The Apollo Theater, the Studio Museum, those are the big guys. What about the independent artists who are visual artists, performing artists, musicians, directors, choreographers, playwrights? What about those guys? And what about the very small not-for-profits and the mid-sized not-for-profits? No one is talking to them in our community. So with Gail Brewer, the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce Arts and Culture Committee, Harlem Arts Alliance, and the Northern Manhattan Arts Alliance, we've decided from 96th Street to Marble Hill North, we will identify groups and organizations and individual artists who are not a part of the dialogue on the future of arts and culture in communities of color. Our first two Zoom calls were so successful that we are now being asked to do a third one. And it is not just telling people where to go for information to deal with their circumstances, but to have people who can give them answers. So we have the Q&A component of all of our Zoom call. And as a result of that, we are compiling a list of questions that we have received from people who register for the Zoom call. And we will get answers from the appropriate parties and share that. That's what we've been doing.
And that's amazing. And Rosa, just to echo what you were saying, it is unique for an organization to be able to have a leadership committee and a health committee made up of so many different, whether it's tourism, whether it's social media, whether it's business, whether it's healthcare, education, all of those entities to come together as the phrase that Lloyd Williams, the president and CEO of the chamber, made at the first meeting was Harlem talks to Harlem, and that has been a very unique situation, something that I'm not sure other communities would be able to duplicate, even though it's something that other communities should have. And Winston, give us a little idea of some of the outcomes of all of these people coming together. I know City College has reports every week as far as what they're doing from a medicals and an educational standpoint in Columbia and many others. So, can you let the listeners know just some of the things that come out of these meetings?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the City College of New York. They've been a great partner
My alumni.
prior to this pandemic, and now more than ever. They've helped assist with providing PPE for the first responders at the Harlem Hospital Center. Also, just to add and go back to food feeds, starting last Saturday, we started to provide the first responders at Harlem Hospital with 200 meals on that Saturday because our program runs from Tuesday through Saturday. And then on today, we provided 200 meals to the first responders at Harlem Hospital Center. And also during this program, we've been providing them for first responders at the NYPD.
Mm.
So that those numbers, it's like Rosa said, hard to believe. We've reached about 10,000 persons and fed them in this short amount of time. But thanks to partners like the City College of New York, we've been able to do so. And with the phenomenal things that the staff up there is doing, such as Karen Witherspoon and President Vince Boudreau, they've been able to make sure that first responders that are coming in and working at sites like Harlem Hospital, that there's dorm space available for them. And for those who have children, they've reopened the old child care center on 133rd Street and Convent Avenue across from Manhattanville Houses. And they're providing child care service for first responders that are also working in the hospitals in Harlem and uptown. So that's one of the great things that they've been doing as a partner. And as you had also mentioned, Columbia University and its small business services division, which is a part of the New York City Small Business Service Division, has been helping out many of these small business owners and entrepreneurs who've been trying to um, finagle their way through the application process for city, state, and federal funding. So they're seeing at least 1,000 business owners every week, and we're all working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, in order to help this pandemic situation be reduced and eventually eliminated.
Well, again, there is always this concern about trying to make sure that the businesses, those small businesses, just as Rose was saying, as was in the arts community, it's the same thing with these small businesses. There, there are people who will be able to take care. Quite frankly, there are certain businesses that I don't know whether they will be able to uh, come back. But uh, is there other ways that the chamber, and I kind of know this, but I want you to let other people know, is helping to limit the amount of time and bureaucracy for small businesses to get some of the funds that they desperately need?
Well, one of the things I invite the listeners and now the viewers to do is to go to our chamber website, www.greaterharlemchamber.com. And if you click on the home page where it says coronavirus updates, we have weekly updates and they're automatically updated where you can go, like Vosa said, to Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer's website and look at specific links for small businesses in different areas. And you can also look at the SBS, the New York City website, through that link, and the federal SBA website. And one of the things that some of our partners are doing, the smaller banks that are members of the chamber, such as Carver Bank, is that they are making sure that they have people available to talk to the small businesses in the community and give them the opportunity in order to sit down one on one, if you will, but by phone to find out exactly what that special need is for that small business and how they can help them. So, with that in mind, we're encouraging folks to go to our website or give us a call because we are receiving messages and responding back in kind at 212-862-7200, and we'll get back to you as quickly as possible to help you with the resources that we have established since March 22nd, I believe, is when this really
Wow,
started.
it seems
And
longer
we're
than that.
hoping that what happens is it becomes an each one teach one philosophy, which, is really an African proverb. So that goes back, as you know, Tony, 600, 800 years. So there's always hope at the end of a dark tunnel. And we know that from the ancestors that we're going to get through this crisis.
Well, one of the other things that I think is important for the listeners to understand, based on COVID-19, the schools have closed. And out of one of our meetings, I know Clayton Banks, Silicon Harlem, who's on the board of the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce, indicated that there were a lot of young people not being able to practice the distant learning because they didn't either have the tools, whether it was the Wi-Fi or tablets, in order to do that. So I know through Silicon Harlem and the chamber, there's been an effort to try to collect old instruments that can be repaired and given to some of the young people. Uh, will or do you have information on the site so if people are in need for those types of things, they will have a way to connect, or should they reach out just to the chamber?
Well, they should do both. We do have links, as was announced today by the New York City Mayor of New York. The New York City Mayor, he said that they have put in play 247,000, right, a quarter of a million devices,
Mm,
laptop devices, and they're internet ready.
mhm.
And as you had mentioned, Silicon Harlem, who's a member of the chamber, and Clayton Banks, who sits on the technology committee for the mayor's office, they've worked really hard to get that number of devices ready. They've been working for the longest on, shrinking the digital divide. And Silicon Harlem, along with the chamber and other partners, have gone into the NYCHA system, New York City Housing Authority, and boosted broadband and gone to uh, what we used to call tech clubs, but the community centers that have technology in them to make available for the students and the families more equipment and a larger broadband. So that's something that I expect us to do more of in the very near future with our team that's working with IT and technology, along with the government agencies to provide. So when you go to the website, you'll see a link that'll connect you with information on the digital divide shrinking opportunity.
And Winston, I just thought, and I don't know why I hadn't thought about this before, but I will follow up, and hopefully you will too with Clayton. We have another chamber member, the Digital Divide Partnership, that also have put a lot of effort in uh, putting free Wi-Fi in housing projects. So that may be an interesting way to capitalize on what they have done. Actually, as I'm thinking about it, they even developed a senior citizens radio, I think, in the Taft houses. But Digital Divide Partnerships are the groups who bring WACR live. They're the ones who do that. And plus, they have a Wi-Fi a system that they developed for Harlem Hospital. So I just kind of thought about that. There's so many things that happen to the chamber that sometimes, you know, you forget, stuff that's there, and I have to, make sure that I talk to Doug and Stu and make sure that they reach out to Clayton so that at least there could be conversations to see what's happening with that. But what are the other areas?
You're absolutely right, Tony. 20 years ago, I was a director of a computer technology lab in Tab Houses, so I know this has been something that's been going on. And with our partner Bruce Lincoln, who you've mentioned on the show many times before, we did that through city contracts that you initiated, actually through training us at the City College of New York 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And also the Boys and Girls Clubs of America and Children's Aid Society. So one of the
those we were in
I'm even getting older, right? So the blessing of this situation, as Voza can tell you, because he has been my mentor for many, many years, is that is generationally bringing the senior citizens and the parents and the children together, because they're able to teach each other the technology skills that they have, also the basic skills of reading, writing, and arithmetic, even if you don't have that opportunity to get to the internet. And one of the great things that the Harlem Arts Alliance and New Heritage Theater have been doing with the leadership of Voza Rivers is providing the opportunity for students to learn every weekend through virtual classes, and also many of the members providing opportunities for people to see shows and performances from the many companies that are represented Harlem Arts Alliance.
And those schedules, those schedules on the chamber site, or would they be on the Harlem Arts Alliance site?
In fact, they're on the Impact site.
Okay.
Impact.
So we have to get a link. We need to get a link to that.
I'll make sure you get it, Tony.
For the H2W.
But what Winston just said again, we adopted and recruited the young lady from Impact who started with us when she was 15, who's now the managing director of Impact. But now she's on the board of Harlem Week. She's rolled up her sleeves, and I think Jamal and I did a real good job, because she is now a part of the Harlem Week family. But more importantly, she keeps us connected to what the young people are doing, and they are really amazing. Absolutely amazing. Let me just also go back to one of the benefits of being involved in an initiative like this, bringing two major universities, one private and one public. Tony, years ago, you were at the forefront of bringing Columbia and City College together through technology.
And we did it at Minnesota Townhouse. And for those who might not know,
you got it, a community-based organization. Right. And it's things like that. It's things like that. You got it. It's things like that it may be a different label, but the foundation was laid a long time ago with people like ourselves who are still here and still continue to do the work. And so again, in the 2020 version of what you did 20 years ago, Tony,
30 years.
30, we're continuing.
My daughter is almost 20 and she wasn't even born yet, so she's 17.
So Tony, we're continuing in your tradition. And we're enjoying. Yes.
And it was the chamber, it was the chamber. Because Larry Diaz asked Lloyd and I to take the new president, and I can't, his name escapes me now, but on a tour. And at that time, again with the chamber, the whole Empowerment Zone initiative, we were involved in that, and we were talking about stuff. And I asked them, could Columbia and City College come together to develop a grant for a partnership center? And he said, that's fine. And that's kind of like what started. Yolanda Moses was the president of the college. And then, based on Jamal and Voza we went to Minnesink because they you know, it was open. And you were right. We started training seniors to work with
Yes.
their kids because the seniors, we found that the seniors replacing some of the parents, but had problems because they didn't understand how to do the technology that the kids was coming with. And we used Fun with Dick and Jane and some other um, ways to keep and you know dealing with a third or fourth grade learning process if it was online because they could go back and say, "Hey, I'm learning online," and so you're right. It brought back some memories, but and all of that, the chamber, the chamber has been in existence
124 years.
124 years and has always stepped up in no matter how you look at it to develop the Upper Manhattan footprint. And but I am so happy and honored to be part of this organization that has done so much. Matter of fact, after we finish our discussion, there is a 2-minute video, a GoFundMe video that was really well put together with, again, some of the young people, the Marcos and those people who were interns and the like, to allow for people to see how they can play a part, because a lot of people are wondering, well, what can I do? I can't leave my house, but what can I do? So we're going to show a clip, and we'll be showing that often. As a matter of fact, we'll make sure that that clip is on the chamber site. Matter of fact, this event is being the Greater Harlem Chamber site. So if people want to see it again, they can go to the Greater Harlem Chamber site and get that done. But it's just amazing, it's and who would have thought that it would take place. I mean who would have thought Harlem Week, all of those things, the day, who would have thought that? But as they say, God has a plan. So no one knew that all of this was leading up to creating this type of situation where an organization could be as vast as it is, to be able to bring in so many different people to talk about the things that are very important. So give us a little, is there any, Rosa and Winston, I also know that there is a plan now or conversations about strategies for what happens after the pandemic. What happens through the second Harlem Renaissance as it, ventures outside. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So with our Uptown leaders at one of the Zoom conference calls that we've been doing a little regular now, we shared this information about looking ahead. And when we looked ahead and we said, wait a minute, this is the 100th anniversary of the Harlem Renaissance. Harlem is changing. So let us really redefine and claim right now that this pandemic is the start of the second Harlem Renaissance. And what does that mean? What is Harlem going to look like? What do we remember over the last 100 years? And now what will we be thinking about in the future? So our President Lloyd Williams asked if our former governor, David Patterson, could head up a committee with a few other distinguished gentlemen and women to be a part of the second Harlem Renaissance, where we are looking at the future of Harlem. When we think about Harlem now and what's closed, and from what I know, being on the ground with the small groups, 50% of the small not-for-profits are going to be permanently shut down. It's not going to happen. A lot of the businesses on 125th Street will not be able to open. The reality is that there were a lot of construction plans underway, a new studio museum, a new a center for the National Urban League. their main headquarters on 125th Street. Columbia University is still building their multi-billion-dollar project in the west side of Manhattan. We are looking at Reverend Al Sharpton and the National Action Network on 145th Street. They're planning also on building another type of museum, a museum for the people in the East who played roles in the civil rights movement. And then the Apollo Theater and the Victoria Theater right next to it was due to open in this quarter. And that is not going to happen. They just halted construction of the Harlem School of the Arts with their re-outfitting the entire shape of the building. All of that stopped. We are in for an opportunity. We're in now an opportunity to do planning of how we are going to exist in the future. How are those small entrepreneurs going to exist? What happens with musicians and people on the ground who are creative when they don't have any income at all coming in? Yeah. Like a photographer. And I've gotten a call from a few photographers. It's
I know
interesting that you would mention that,
you
know? Of course. So all of these things are very, very real, and we want to put a brain trust behind helping us think what we should be looking at and what we should be planning. I start with real estate because real estate really sets the tone, and these cultural real estate icons, assets to the Harlem community, we'll see if we will be able in the next few years to complete these projects at the vision that we had last year or last month. And these are some of the things. And then where are the funds going to come from? And if you are a small dance company or a large company, will people be coming back to your facility when this pandemic crisis is over? They may not want to go into a 1,500-seat Apollo Theater and sit on top of each other. They may say, no, I'm not going to do that. What are we prepared to do with this changing dynamic of what is going on right now? And I believe that it's a new renaissance for all of us on how we exist.
Well, it's true. One of the things, as you both know, in 1974, the first Harlem Day, the theme for the first Harlem Day was the beginning of the second Harlem Renaissance.
That's right.
Like all things happen, that's an evolving situation. And we've seen things, but now, many of the things that we saw will shift.
Yes.
So there is a new Renaissance period. And, there's a yin and yang in everything. And where some businesses, we have to look forward. Matter of fact, I have on this network, I have an interview at 8:00 about industrial use of hemp, which creates so many, and with hemp farmers from North Carolina and from people from California, Las Vegas. And there's a brother who's building a village in Ghana just using hemp for batteries, for there's a brick that you can put together with hemp and lime that repels insects. So there are different new economies that will start to develop as relates to textiles and things like that people will have to look to, because in any change, do what you've done before, you have to look at what is going to be available in this new normal. And so it's amazing, and it's on time for the chamber to continue its leadership position to start at least developing strategic options for people, because that's going to be necessary. But one of the things that's also important is that we have to begin to understand the connection between mind, body, and spirit. We had our last interview. We had a doctor who has so many different types of degrees. It's hard to say, but what her major focus was is that what you think can manifest. So
Yeah,
if you know, her thing is that you gotta think about the future where you want it to be. You can't let fear and doubt stagnate you because that brings your energy down. So strategy and planning is going to be very important. We will get past this, but we have to start visualizing ourselves past this. And from business, from the art, and all of the things that we're talking about, the idea of looking to the future is probably very significant,
I agree.
as
And like
well
you
as
said, Tony,
wellness. You know,
right.
we're talking this whole week. We're talking about prevention, and at this particular point, you know, prevention is our major tool, building our immune system and doing things that one needs to do. The chamber has always led the way, and Rosa, Winston, you guys have been, and Vosa, I don't know how you do it. I mean, every time I get an email, it's something else that you're producing. So hopefully you might be able to get some rest now in some kind of way, because but I know that's not true. But I'm amazed at when the Lloyd Williams and the Vosa Rivers of the world and the Winston Magettes and the Pat Ricketts keep me forever saying that I'm tired. Because there's no way. I just think of, I just look at my emails and just to think of all of the things that you guys have done. I've played a small role in it, but I think that it's important for people to know why these opportunities are important, because we have now a large number of people that are seeing Vosa Rivers and the Winston Magette for the first time, not only from around the corner but from around the world. That's the beauty of the listenership. We've been averaging 1,000 or 2,000 listeners, because people are at home, But also there's a desire to understand about what's happening, especially in wellness and health, but in many other forms, which is why we thought it was important to make sure that the GHCC, the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce show, was part of the H2W uh, entity, which it always has been, but even more so now, because it gives people an understanding that if you're an artist, you know where to go to. You can go to the chamber. The chamber is a one-stop shop. If you're into art, if you need food or something like that, if you're dealing with some of the universities or some of the hospitals, and you need, we have Greg Bishop, the head of the city SBA, doing conference calls. We have the president of colleges. We have, the heads of hospitals, and also, in here we have even some nurses who are talking about some of the on the ground stuff, which is interesting. You should tune into that because they have a different type of perspective than what you might be hearing on the news. But
Right.
the bottom line is, it's 2020, so we're able to see things clearer. And the chamber, this will be a historic time. You keep looking back and say, wow, that's going to be something history. But history changes itself. So from here on, it's going to be another chapter in an ongoing story. And the people at the chamber, even though we've lost some very close relationships with some of our members and staff, but it's still moving on. It's still doing things, and
Absolutely, Tony.
it's important.
We can't forget about those babies that are being born every second of the day in the Harlem hospitals and Lincoln hospitals and New York Presbyterian, because they're coming out with great hope and confidence and innocence, and they're looking for us to have a positive pathway to success. And part of that, as you said, is mental health and physical health. I'm grateful for the partners like Hormel Foods and Cabot Creamery and the New York Roadrunners who are partnering with us to make people healthier. And if you remember, Tony, one entrepreneur we had at Economic Development Day a few summers ago, she had a company that invented a soccer ball
Oh yeah,
that if you
yeah.
continue to kick it, it
And
will
and it
provide
can
light.
you. Yeah, I saw.
And
Yeah,
she launched it in Africa.
in Africa,
And you had, as
she
Rosa
lives up
knows,
the street from
he's
me.
the son and child and king of Africa.
Yeah.
Those village kids were kicking the ball around and having illuminated night light. So in the evening, their parents and grandparents were able to work by the fire and in their homes be able to have light. The students had exercise, and they were providing something that what we take, full advantage of, and we sometimes forget, Con Edison and those types of things, BGE, and they take it to a new level. So entrepreneurs, as you said, that have come through Harlem Week and the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce are going to have a great opportunity to provide some wonderful inventions and products and services for not
which is
only New York but America and the world.
which is a question that everyone seems to be having is what's going to happen with Harlem Week this year. We may be virtual. We may do some other things. Hopefully, based on the summer, some of this will die off because that's usually the way the virus works. With this heat, it dies off. But I don't know whether or not um, we're going to be able to do what we've done for the last 46 years.
Yeah, we are definitely working toward looking at solutions and recommendations. Uh, we have now seen just this month 3 or 4 mega concerts where people were not in the same space at the same time, but they were participating in the same event.
Mm.
And so, taking a page from what we have been seeing, we understand virtual reality is part of our future.
Mm-hmm.
We know that there are different ways of presenting our culture. We have all of these assets that we now have to reposition
Mm-hmm.
on how to best monetize what we have, not going back, but looking forward.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our goal. And we have now created a little task force, Tony, to deal with that. In fact, Winston and I, at what time, Winston? 5:30 this evening, or
Actually, in three and a
thereabouts.
half minutes, at
Oh,
five
3.5
o'clock.
minutes. Oh God, it's
Well,
already fun. So
yeah.
we're going to talk exactly how do we revision what we've done in the past and
Mhm.
prepare it for the new norm.
Well, I know that Soul City TV, I forget the date for the music festival, uh,
Yes.
already had put in a time. So we're looking at doing a number of virtual, because that's another in it, the music festival, the Harlem Music,
Yes, of course, of course.
which is it can go to another level now too because we can get so many people. We can do pay-per-views. We can do a number of things with that probably would not have been possible in the past. So hopefully, those things.
Soul City and Matt McCoy, you'll hear from us soon.
so
You will hear from us soon.
so in wrapping up, again, we're going to. I want to wrap up a little early because we want to play the go.
Yeah.
This is our debut for
Okay.
the GoFundMe for the chamber. So hold on, don't go away because we're going to put that on. But before you leave, and we'll have it on our site, let people know how they can join the chamber and how they can get involved with some of the chamber activities, Winston.
Go ahead,
We
Winston.
invite you to go to www.greaterharlemchamber.com and view our website, and you'll be sure to not only find another 1,200 people who are members that'll be your partners, and they'll serve as mentors to you and allies toward you. And you can call us at 212 862 7200.
And
you can leave
email,
us a message and we'll get right back to you.
and the
And
email.
if you're an email junkie like myself, you can email us at info@greaterharlemchamber.com.
Well, thank you for taking time out of still a busy schedule because it's just a new normal, but a normal for us. And listeners, uh, we are about to introduce a new GoFundMe promo that we will have on our site, and it'll be on the chamber site, and we're going to play it because of what you've heard. It's important to try to make sure that we keep supporting because Winston and Rosa and many other people are out there in on the bushes. So we need to make sure we can support those efforts. So thank you both, and let's look at the film. Matt, if you can uh, plug us into the GoFundMe program, we'll end up with that.